Welcome back to I'm Still Here. I'm Larry.
And I'm Heather. In 1998, at the age of 26, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It changed everything for us, but I'm still here.
You are?
Yes.
So we warned you that we are starting a series, and this will be about a 12-week series, and we have named it 5 to Thrive series. And why did we name it that?
Well, because we have recognized that there are 5 kind of areas, fundamentals of that impact every kind of phase of treatment. So when I started out, these are kind of the things that I really hit upon
Accidentally,
exactly, or weeded out or whatever.
I think even in doing this podcast for over a year now, I think we've realized, wow, it always comes back to these 5 areas, at least. Nothing, but 5 areas that we get the most questions about, we talk about the most, and matter the most.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 5 areas or fundamentals, we're going to call them, are physical, mental, nutrition, medical, and support. And by support, we mean kind of family and friends, the people around you.
Your group. Yep, your posse.
Your posse, exactly.
So not only are we going to just talk about those 5, we're going to talk about those 5 areas at different periods of time.
Yeah.
Right?
So we've kind of identified that there's sort of, for this series, we're going to talk about 3 different phases, we'll call them. The first one would be diagnosis to treatment starting. So the scariest time, really the scary time. The initial, oh shit, what has happened, period. And then we'll take those 5 fundamentals and we'll talk about them during that period of time. And then we're going to transition into treatment. So when you are actually doing treatment, we know that looks different for different people, but still these 5 fundamentals apply.
And for the most part, we're going to be covering 3 areas of treatment that affect people both physically and mentally the most, and that is chemo, radiation, and surgeries. So, I mean, it's just there are many, many other treatments. It's just we get the most questions, and Heather has a lot of experience with these. So that's what we're going to really focus on when we get to the treatment phase.
Yep. And then the other time that I feel like is really scary, we're going to talk about post-treatment. So kind of when you're, maybe you've done one of these things, surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, and they're kind of saying, okay, we're going to continue on some sort of medication, but you're basically, hey, good, we'll see you in 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And that can be super scary as well. So we just really want to be able to help you get through these phases, and we want you to be able to find the information you're looking for, which was really the crux of starting this whole podcast in the beginning anyway, was, when I was first diagnosed, there was nothing that you could find from somebody who has lived with metastatic breast cancer for as long as I have. So the other thing I'd say is we did kind of do a precursor to this last week in terms of we told our story, or we re-aired that first episode. So if you don't know, if you're not familiar with kind of what happened for my diagnosis, go back and listen to that.
Okay. So, not only that, we're going to try to make it easier. And after we get done with this first category or time period, which is diagnosis to treatment, we're going to make a download available to you guys that for people who, listen to the podcast, just doesn't work for them, or they want it more tangible in front of themselves so they can look at it. We're going to make those available to you guys too.
Yeah.
So that's coming down the road too.
Yeah. And the other thing we found with that is sometimes having something written to read every day or to read to yourself, we all learn differently, and repetition is always good. And just being able to kind of, put together your own plan with some of our notes might be super helpful.
Yeah.
So
we're starting out in talking about the mental side of things in that period of time from you just got diagnosed to when treatment starts.
Yeah.
And I get it that's that's a much different period of time for a lot of people. That can be one day, that can be 2 weeks. In crazy situations, I guess that can be a month.
Yeah.
So this is different for everybody. I guess we're gonna probably, we'll tell you what Heather dealt with, but probably, that week or two would probably be the norm. A week.
Yeah, I think a couple of weeks. I mean, even in mine, I was diagnosed first found out about cancer, and then it took a week to find out it was stage 4.
Yeah.
And then we kind of really got trucking.
Okay.
But, some things just do take time with getting things scheduled and whatever else. So,
okay.
I just can't, I don't know if I can emphasize enough that we understand that when I think about this period of time, I just think about this like tornado of thoughts and like just being in the churn of the surf, like anything that's hard, just trying, like, you just feel like what has happened, like
your life changes.
Yeah, and it is like your life really can change with a phone call, and it really can. We hear those things, but when you experience them, you recognize them even more, right? So
the whole world keeps going on, and yours just stopped. I mean, slammed on the brakes, hit the wall, stopped.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's such a challenge to kind of then think about, okay, I feel like everything is so out of control. What can I control? Mm-hmm. What is there in this that I can do to make some sort of a difference? And I feel like when you recognize, even when you're, you don't know how far the cancer's gone yet, or you don't know, you can't control that at that point, but it does become, okay, like, what are the things that I need to respond to now? How can I respond to things in a way that will help me?
It's almost like you said, what do I got to do to not just be an observer, but to be a player in this?
Yeah.
I want to actively do things. And, mentally, you can actively do things.
It's like setting the tone for all of that, even early on. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect because, of course, you're dealing with so much anxiety and fear and all of those things. But you can kind of start from a spot of, okay, what can I control, right? And how can I then work with the mental aspect of this, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things I was thinking about is like, what do I need to respond to? I feel like in the very beginning, there was like this, like, apply for disability. My boss, I had just resigned, but whatever. My boss saying, when are you coming into work? How are we going to deal with having young children? All of these things, like, what do I need to respond to, And some of that is, I kind of have learned to live by this whole thought process of less is more. Like, telling my boss it will be done by this day, or I will be in 2 days, or whatever, or I'm done. I don't, like all of those things. I think it's, I think just kind of lessening it as much as possible, right?
Yes.
Is helpful. I think if you can make a list and delegate right from the beginning, it's great. Or even sit down with somebody and kind of think about all of the things that you do need to respond to, right?
And not everybody, I get, probably most people that are diagnosed are not great delegators. Mm-hmm. They probably, most of them aren't CEOs of a corporation and do this daily, and it doesn't come naturally. Mm-hmm. It doesn't, when she says delegate, doesn't mean you're doing this and you're doing this, and don't get confused with that. But you're going to get so many people that do come to you and say, what can I do to help? How can I help? And some of them are just BSing you.
That's very true.
Just to be nice. They're not being mean, but that's what you say. I'm so sorry, if I can do anything to help.
Yeah.
The people in your life that mean it, that truly are those people who give of themselves to help other people, not just you. It wouldn't do you any good for them to be doing things that don't actually help you. So if you can give tangible things that need done or taken care of, they can be helpful so they're happy. And you can actually get one of those things off of your plate and make your life better, make it easier.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, you know, some people have way better strengths, or, you know, have strengths in certain areas. So work from those kind of strengths.
And you can ask
right?
those people, even if they haven't offered, and just say, hey, there's no pressure here, but I'm in need of something right now.
Or you could even give them a list of, I need, you know, these are the things that are, and they might say, oh, I'll take that. I can do that. No problem, you know.
Or do you have that person in your life that is a good delegator, that is a good, hey, give me the things, I'm going to find the right people in your life because I know who's in your life. You know, say it was me with Heather. I can make those phone calls. I can ask people to do that, or I can put it out there that this needs done, and you, the patient, doesn't have to do this.
Yep, I agree.
Are you a patient yet? After diagnosis?
You're a patient.
You're a patient. Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah, I think you get diagnosed, you're a patient.
Okay.
And then also, like, kind of with that, we've sort of alluding to this a little bit. I feel like I was pretty inundated with people contacting me, which was nice, but it was also overwhelming, right? And so the next question is, like, kind of, who do I feel best around? Like, I realized quickly that there are a lot of well-meaning people who want to help you, and I would agree with that. But you also you don't have the energy for that. Like, and it's not your job as a patient to placate others, to make other people feel better. In fact, like, that's probably I feel like it's such a huge, people feel bad even saying it, but I'm going to say it. Like, you have to protect yourself, and protecting yourself is conserving your own energy. It's protecting your mental state. It's all of these things. And
so can you give us an example? Because some people out there might not know what you're talking about here.
Well, I just felt like, I mean, I knew quickly. Yeah, I think about the first few people that I talked to or wanted to tell, right? And I knew that there was a safe space for me to talk to, some of my closest people. But then there's that next tier of people that they oftentimes might say things that are really traumatizing to you, they might share stories that are not going to end well. And again, it becomes actually more self-serving for them than it is the intent to help you. And that's kind of how we're built as humans, right?
They're trying to relate.
You're trying to relate.
They're saying, oh, right. I so understand what you're going through because my sister went through this and it didn't end up well.
Right.
But they're saying, I've been through this before, just not in a way that's going to help you.
And I'm saying, you know what? You don't even need to, like, really talk to those people. I really feel strongly about, circling the wagons and allowing your closest people. Again, there's, always an energy exchange in relationships. So, like, you can only handle so much of that. And so, be with the people who can help you protect your energy and also help you feel encouraged, or if not even encouraged, but feel like they're really in it to get through it with you, right?
Yeah. So one of the ways you did this, you made it kind of clear to people, not only in our bubble, but outside of our bubble, kind of clear on what your intentions and how you were going to do things and how you weren't and stuff, is you wrote some letters.
Yeah. And
got disseminated throughout our community and beyond. Now, this was before the internet, right? So we don't have experience with getting this news, getting this diagnosis. I don't know if people today, well, I guess they would. I mean, post like, hey, I was just diagnosed with cancer.
I think the other thing with all of that is just think about, again, the energy exchange from that. So I get it that you want to get information out and people want the information, but if it becomes draining to you to have to manage that, then think about a different way to do it.
So the beauty of the letters you wrote is they would have to write a letter back or call if they wanted to talk to her. On the internet, you make a post and you do this, you're going to get everybody just responding. And some of those responses may not be positive mentally for you. So I would just say be careful.
I think be very careful, and also just recognize, like, you don't have to give people something just because they ask for it.
True.
So if they're asking for more information or they want an exchange with you, you don't have to do that. You have to do what's best for you. And there are some people that are just going to be a time suck and an energy suck and everything else, and it doesn't mean they're bad people. It just isn't the right thing at this point. So
they might be family members.
And they very well could be family members. So again, just find, I feel like 2 or 3 or 5 people that can really not only help you through, but can help protect you and disseminate information and those kind of things to keep those relations going. I mean, heck, they can have your Facebook page. You know what I mean? So that kind of thing, where it just keeps you out of this energy depletion.
We
Because you're
only
managing
want the
somebody
mental
else.
side going in a positive direction during
Yep.
this diagnose to treatment time. You have to somehow, and what she's going to talk to you about later, you have to somehow get this automatic, oh shit, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Because that will go through your head. Not maybe, will go through your head. How do you take that, flip it around so it's going in the other direction of positive mental thoughts? That's what she's talking about. And if people are putting other things in your head, you once they go in, there is no I'm going to block it now.
Right.
So it's the pre-block that she's talking about.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
So I just wrote down what makes me feel better. So again, with all of this in the midst, you know what? Most of the day you're going to feel absolutely not good. You know, mentally just not good.
Brain spinning. Yep.
But does a 10-minute meditation stop that? Or a visualization, right? Does that stop that spin?
Does a 10-minute medication 10 times a day?
Meditation.
What did I say? Medication? Meditation. 10 times a day.
Yeah.
If you have to type of thing.
Yes. Especially in the beginning, like as many times as you
taking
need
over
to.
that mental side or that brain and pushing it in the right direction as many times as you can.
All those thoughts that you're thinking that you keep thinking, write them down and let them go. Like there is a release in writing, like that you physically kind of got rid of it. Write it down and burn it if you need to. Write it down and
don't type it on the internet.
Yeah, please
don't
do
do
that.
that. That's not what she's talking about.
No.
Write it down for you.
I thought about trying to find one of my first journal thoughts, but I remember just talking about this. You know, is this my new normal? This spinning, this fear, this how am I going to get through this? You know, but it is about just write it down and let it go. Physical activity and a diversion, right? I was lucky that when I was diagnosed, I felt great. I felt normal. So I decided to kind of act from that pretty quickly and just, go for a walk. I'm not saying go sign up for 10K or anything like that, but just...
And that was a time that you could listen to a meditation. You could listen to music that put you in a right mental place. That can be today a podcast that puts you in a right mental place.
Yeah.
Now the opposite can happen too with all of those things. So be careful or be specific in what you're choosing to put into your head because it matters. But during that physical time, that's an opportunity.
Yep. And then just distraction. What kind of distraction? Again, at this point, the distraction needs to be just enough to tamper down those thoughts. I'm not expecting the thoughts to go away at this point. It's just enough that you are not literally transposing everything in, but they didn't have cancer. Or they didn't, you know what I mean?
First of all, we failed at this over and over over and over. So understand this isn't possible to do all the time.
No.
But
what hits right one day might not hit right the next day. Yeah. So just again, some people are like, "Oh, I love to read Harry Potter," and some people are like, "Oh, I loved to watch a comedian." I'm just talking about a distraction that makes you go, "Okay, I can hopefully just tamper down those."
And maybe that's for 15 minutes or an hour.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep.
Playing a game. Go
Yes.
play a video game or something.
Yeah.
Whatever it is you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Escape is okay for a little bit of time during this.
Yeah. I think you just need a respite
Mm-hmm.
if possible. So those are the kind of the things I was thinking about in terms of what can I control. So what can I respond to? What do I need to respond to? And then how can, people help me with that?
So can you just talk a little bit more about your starting point?
Yeah.
When you get diagnosis, you're told this with in person or a phone call or however
Yep.
you get told this, you're automatically going to be at a 10 negatively mentally, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to go to a 1.
Oh, God, no.
Right. So, and I don't want people to get frustrated with, I tried this and I tried this, you said this and it didn't work. No, you're talking about going to a 9.9
Yeah.
and then maybe a 9.8 and then maybe a 9.7. This might be every day. And eventually maybe you get to a 6 where you can function and 40% of your thoughts are positive.
Yeah.
Well, if you're at 40% of your thoughts are positive, that's pretty good when you just got diagnosed with cancer, right?
Yeah,
In my
I think
mind.
so. I think it's about being able to kind of like, oh, I'm not constantly thinking that I'm going to die. Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Or,
Well, not
oh,
only
I
that, because, well, and this was probably starting in treatment, but maybe that was true for you. But it wasn't just I'm going to die. It was, this is what I'm going to do. It wasn't just I'm going to die. I a hard time getting my words out on this one, but it was truly positive. So not negative, but positive replacing it.
Oh, yeah. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Like, I mean, even just your brain is so powerful, right?
Yeah.
You have the ability to use it for good. We are not wired. We are wired to think about the what ifs, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's, I'm not big into all of like evolution and all that kind of whatever, but we have to look out for what could hurt us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So therefore when we get told, hey, this could hurt you, like that's what we're going to focus on.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you can't have some control over that. And I think that's what I was learning both through some of the input that I got from the people who I felt best around, from you, from my brother, from Christy, my mom, all of these people who were literally like, not saying, hey, everything's going to be fine, but saying...
They weren't saying, you're not going to die.
No.
They weren't saying that.
No. But we're willing to walk through, like, me saying, I'm worried about this, and there being, okay, but
Think about this.
There's an alternative,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So it's really about it's almost like a breakdown of all of those thoughts. And this is where I do think like journaling could be helpful too, but like really thinking about, oh my gosh, I just thought this. I just thought I'm not going to see Sydney grow up, and then I thought, okay, how do I change that?
Mm-hmm.
And it literally is just taking those thoughts and going, no, that's not a for sure. That's nothing. We don't know anything for sure. This isn't serving me. My goal, I set a goal, which I started to think about what were my goals in this new world, instead of givens. I think when we live in life before that, we kind of walk through this world as if things are going to happen and they're going to be givens. But like, what were my goals? And then it was like, okay. And it seemed super lofty. I'm going to see her go to kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like work back from there. How do I do that? Well, I think about, again, every day, it's not serving me to think about, I'm going to die, or it's not helpful to think about a pain in my back. How can I think about a pain in my back differently? Right. So I just would really build from anything I had. So I decided that, a pain in my back could be from a workout I did.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the opposite of, instead of, that initial, it's cancer, which is, what we talked about in the diagnosis episode. It was like literally taking that to be, if I don't know it to be true, then it's not necessarily true, and I can control this a different way. I can think about it differently.
And
So-
this might be in a different part of this series, but and I think that's other people's or the people that you surround yourself can help with this. You know, you tell some bad news, this probably isn't specifically just diagnosis or when you got diagnosed, but it's, you know, the doctor or the tech or the whatever says something, does something, and you, the patient, you come to me and you're pretty freaked out about it. My role's not to freak out with you.
No.
It's not. It's to go, okay, let you freak out, listen, and go, well, it could be this too.
Yeah.
It could, because, you know, not that I knew, but, and I wasn't doing this intentionally, by the way, but I think it's just kind of what I do is I also can help replace those thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, or put a doubt in your mind that it's not, maybe
Yeah.
it's not negative. It's just a doubt. It's just looking at the
Yep.
big picture and going, well, maybe. And if there's people in your life that are freaking out with you and making it worse, they need to go for a little bit.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know?
The other thing that I think that happens with that is when you help me replace that with a different thought, when it happens again, when the text says something again, I was then able to push back to them and say, I don't want to hear this, or I was able to be proactive.
There was no good in that.
Yes.
Yep.
I was able to recognize what it was that was hurting me, that was hard for me to deal with afterwards, and be proactive about it, you know, and just say the things that I needed and advocate for myself in those situations, or walk away from them,
Exactly.
you know. I
So
mean,
you don't know it. Did you set a goal before you even started treatment? I don't remember. Do you?
I think I did.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I think it would have been close to that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I remember thinking that it was really lofty, but
Yeah.
but also, like, again, I was still working from that part of my brain that's hadn't caught up with how can this be possible. You know, so you can like use that too, because I mean, I still was a healthy 26-year-old, crazily enough.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was working from that point too, like, if I've got this, I'm gonna try to use it. And that was kind of just my final, like, what I was thinking about with all of this is just like, you need to give yourself time to adjust to all of this, you know, and you can but you can also, in that time of adjustment, you can constantly be thinking about how to move forward, or how to pay attention to, you know, just add more pluses in your column of, you know, tools that work for you, or how to change those thoughts, you know, thinking about, okay, what does this look like, and how can I set a goal, finding like ways to be grateful every day, finding gratitude in the days. And honestly, some days it was something, it might have been something, a phone call or something from somebody else. It might have been just something I saw in nature, like just really trying to reframe everything, and choosing the way you want to move forward with this, you know?
I think you're special in that. I do think that if the roles were reversed, I would have had probably, I don't know, probably a harder time of doing some of the things that you did at the speed at which you did, and flipping that switch. Not going from a 10 to a 5. She didn't do that, but really intentionally doing this. And I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there like me that you just go, well, how can I do that?
I think that one thing that happens is a lot of people, I've heard over the years, will be like, I'm going to deal with that later. I'll think about that later. Like, first I'm just going to get through treatment, or first I'm just going to get through this diagnosis and then treatment. But I was also working more from the fact of like, wait a second, what if later's worse? Like, I've got this platform right now where my physical, mental health, everything is at a decent level, so I need to work from it now. Like, I didn't.
Oh, I get it.
You know what I mean? But I do feel like, and as a society, I've heard that too. Like, you can deal with that later. Yes, that's true.
No.
If you have the opportunity,
don't misunderstand me. I'm talking about the mental kind of decisions you made, and the steering the ship from negative, I'm gonna die, there was still that there, but steering it into, I'm going to find the positive in things.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would have a very hard time. Well, guess what? There's therapy out there.
Yeah.
There are great therapists who know this, who do this, who that's their profession. Just think of what therapy is when we're talking about it. We're talking about adjusting your brain in a lot of cases to see the positive, or to not forget the negative, but to put it in the two spots like that you talked about, the things I can control and the things I can't. And if it is an I can't control and you're having a really hard time, putting that aside, that's a great time for therapy. If you've never been to therapy before, wow, I can't think of a better time. And probably going to last you through this process can really, really be helpful.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. That would have been awesome.
And I look back and go, wow, did you even consider it? I know it was a different time, therapists.
No, I wasn't.
We're not as accessible then.
Yeah, no, I thought that, I feel like just probably based on the way I'd been raised and where we were in the world, I thought therapy was for people who had like a diagnosed mental
problem.
Yeah,
me too.
Not something different. Now I'm so thankful for the therapy that I've had, in the last few years and the benefits of it. But absolutely,
I just think, wow, what an opportunity for someone here. Like if this were to happen all over again.
Well, and I think the part of what that says to me too is like, I just want you to also go that's that voice in your head, that still voice in your head that like literally mine was saying, what if there is a chance? What if they're wrong? What if? Listen to it and find a way to help you. Like,
so you're saying I got a chance.
Yeah, but it's so true. Like listen to it. I feel like the best decisions I have made in my life have been listening to my intuition, which like in this case was an overwhelming, this is your time on earth is limited, it was overwhelming, but this voice was like, there might, you know what I mean? Just be on that side, be in that, it doesn't matter what that number is, be in that statistic.
And if you need help getting there, that's what I'm saying.
And that's
maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's...
Yeah. And you can control the narrative of that too. Like you could walk into a therapist and say, listen, I want to be here. You know what I mean? And I need the tools, or I don't know how to get there. Yeah. But boy,
and these are other things you're going to be offering as specific tailored meditations to people.
Sure.
To help steer that in the positive direction immediately.
Yeah. And just recognizing too, like, I guess I think about meditation, you talked about it a little bit before, but just like this whole, it's not once, well, I tried that once. No, it's every day. It's multiple times a day. It's
10,000 times to make it a habit.
You know what I mean? It's really, it's like, you can't say, well, I'll give it a week. It's really building, you still have a say. Like everybody's going to be telling you what you should do. That is what happens in cancer. The voices get loud, but don't let it squelch that voice inside of you that believes.
You have to be, well, you don't have to. You need to try to steer yourself into the glass half full.
Absolutely.
Person.
I agree.
You just, and surround yourself that are people like that, because it will rub off on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So just keep in mind, we do have a free meditation that's kind of general.
Yep.
Out on, you can sign up for it. We'll have Lauren put in the links for us, so you can get that. We are going to keep going with Monday Momentums, and then our Wednesdays will be about this 5 to Thrive series. So next week we'll be talking about physical.
All
right. So
and that is again from diagnosis to treatment.
Yep.
Just what can you do physically to help yourself thrive.
Yeah.
So until next week, thank you. We'll see you.